What's up everybody, the Blue Fang here, and today I'm back with a top 10 of my favorite anime and manga series for the time being. This is going to be for my 6,000 subscriber special, and I'd also like to thank you guys so much for helping me get this far on YouTube. I really can't believe we made it to 6k already because it feels like I hit 5k just yesterday. So before I get into the video, I just have to let you guys know this list is all of my preference on these series, and I love them all equally sometimes, but I just had to list them in a way if I like this series more than the other. I don't dislike any of them, but I know they're all not perfect. So if you see your favorite series in like 9th place, I don't think it's bad, I just like other series more better. So with that out of the way, let's just get into my top 10 favorite anime and manga. So before I get into the list, I'll just say some honorable mentions first. One of them would be Dragon Ball Z. I really like the series, but I just liked others more. Another mention is going to be One Piece. I'm currently reading it at the moment, so I'm trying to get past the time skip, then I'll be able to rank it on the list. And at the moment, I really love One Piece, and I think it would go in my top 5 favorites after I finished or even made it past the time skip. One last mention would be Yu Yu Hakusho, which I'm currently watching at the moment, and it's another series that I'm thinking that it could be in my top 10 once I've finished it. So with those mentions out of the way, let's just get into my real list. Now number 10 would be Code Geass. So I really like Code Geass, and I really think the series had 2 great seasons, with the 2 seasons having amazing finales to them, especially the ending of the series. This anime also has one of the best protagonists of all time in my opinion, and the plot was really good as well. I'd also rate it a 9 out of 10 overall, and another thing is that in this top 10 list, the series that will be in it will be either a 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 or 9.5 out of 10 series. So Code Geass is also an anime that I binged for some time when it was on Netflix. There wasn't that much anime on Netflix since the area I'm in doesn't supply too many on it, but I got to find Code Geass, which I binged for some time. Now the idea of mechas in this anime, I sort of liked it. Not too much at some times, but it was a cool system that I had first encountered when I watched this for the first time. Code Geass is pretty much the first mecha anime that I watched, and I thought the mechas looked really good, so I can't wait to find more mecha anime to watch. Now number 9 on this list is Tokyo Ghoul, and no, I don't mean the anime, I'm talking about the manga. Also, I'm no bandwagon for the hate on the Tokyo Ghoul anime. I thought season 1 was a pretty good adaptation, it's just after that it went off on some different path which was completely not in the manga. The anime also took out some really good scenes that I loved in the manga, which turned me down from it. But yeah, I'm talking about the manga, and it's a pretty solid series from what I've read. I've read the first part of it, and now I'm currently reading Re, which I think it's pretty good at the moment as well. So my thoughts on this series is that I think the plot was really good, and it took me a while to get into it, but once it got really good, it got really good. Kaneki is such a great protagonist and has entered my top 5 protagonists. The way he was used with him becoming a half ghoul and going through the challenges that a normal ghoul would face was entertaining, with different characters becoming amazing as well. My favorite character would be of course Kaneki, but also Juzo as well, while other characters were still great. The art is really unique in the manga, which made me also hype up whenever an action driven scene is shown in the manga. I just really love this series, and I know sometimes it could be shown as some cringe, edgy looking story, but it's actually really good if you give yourself some time to get through it. Now my 8th spot has an anime from the iconic Big 3, which in number 8 is Bleach. Now Bleach took me a long time for me to get fully invested into it. I thought the beginning was pretty average but solid for a beginning section of a story, but once I finished the arc, I went into the Soul Society part where the story really got me invested into it. I loved the Soul Society arc, the fights, the moments, the twist, all the characters, everything was so good in the arc. Also, I was currently watching the anime version of it at this point of time, which I thought it was good, but once I got into the Arrancar arc, or some would say Espada arc, Bleach really took a turn that turned me down from the story. The beginning of this arc got me bored when watching it because it felt like the same plot that was in the Soul Society arc, since it was someone getting kidnapped and Ichigo goes to save them. The pacing also felt so slow, which got me tired of it. So eventually I dropped the Bleach anime around the beginning of the Arrancar arc, but sometime later I decided to pick it back up again, but in the manga version, which made me love Bleach once more. The pacing was great, the fights were amazing, and the different espadas were really good. Aizen is also such an amazing villain, which kept me on the edge of my chair every time he used his ability. The ending of this arc was pretty good as well, and the last moment of Ichigo using the final Getsuga Tensho was solid. Now number 7 is, well, I'm about to anger a majority of my fan base, but in the number 7 spot of this list is Naruto. I'm going to be counting both Naruto series in one spot since I don't really want to separate them, but it hurts me putting Naruto in this spot since it was my first anime that I watched. The Naruto series was really good as a whole, and I loved the moments that were in it. The characters in the first Naruto series were really well done. Kakashi, Gaara, Naruto, Orochimaru, Neji, and even Sasuke were all well done in part 1 of Naruto, and really made me enjoy the series. Of course, Chunin exams and the Sasuke retrieval arcs were top tier arcs, with also the Land of Waves and Tsunade arcs being generally good as well. Shippuden I'd say wasn't as good as part 1, but was good anyway, with it having top tier moments. The arcs that shined throughout it in my opinion were the Hidan and Kakuzu, Jiraiya and Itachi, and the Pain arc. The War arc was pretty lacking, but it had really amazing moments, which would be of course Madara being there, Guy vs Madara, and also Kakashi vs Obito. There are a few more amazing moments in the War arc, but sadly some of the arc lacked a lot of things. But anyway, Naruto as a whole would always be special to me, and I don't see it coming out of my top 10 anytime soon. In my number 6 spot is going to be Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. So this anime is also one of the first animes I've watched, and actually the first anime that made me like it from episode 1 all the way to the end. There were many shows after that I liked from the start, but this was the first one that got me highly invested into the anime as a whole. Yes, I even watched Hunter x Hunter before this, but I go into Fullmetal more quicker than it. This is also an anime that had a very solid plot, which did it better than the first adaptation, since that one strayed away from the original source. Something that's good is that the dub for this anime is very highly praised, and sometimes it's even said better than the sub, which you know in the anime community dub is usually said to be bad, but in my personal opinion it always comes down to preference, and both dub and sub could be good in their own way. The characters were solid as well, and Edward Elric as the protagonist had a nice redemption story from the start to the end. Also, the equivalent exchange aspect that has left a mark throughout the whole anime was interesting, with the power system that is alchemy being used carefully, and eventually Edward uses that aspect to do something very big to save someone. I won't spoil it as the shock value was so great that you would enjoy it a lot when you haven't been spoiled yet. Overall, this anime barely has any downs, and it shows that with it being number 1 on my anime list, I guess the community really loves it, but sometimes I do think it gets overrated too much by the community as well, but I love the anime a lot. Now number 5 on this list is Death Note. Alright, so I really love Death Note, but I had a hard time placing it onto a proper spot on this list. I was pretty much struggling with it being under or over Fullmetal, but eventually it came down to preference for me since I just have a high praise for both Light Yagami and L as characters that I couldn't let their series be out of my 5th spot. Light is pretty much one of my favorite anime characters plus protagonist. The same goes for L, as he is one of my favorite antagonists. Like Fullmetal Alchemist, Death Note was one of my first animes that made me enjoy it immediately from the start. I think I just have a bias for psychological anime that made me love the series even more. The mind battles going back and forth with Light and L made the anime entertaining, and it surprised myself that I thought something like two nerds trying to catch each other could be so much fun to watch. Now my number 4 spot is Hunter x Hunter. Yeah, I know people are probably thinking it could be higher, especially you, White Fang, but it took me some time to think through my 4 to 1 spots, but eventually I just decided to put Hunter x Hunter here because I generally love the next 3 series more. But that doesn't mean I don't love Hunter x Hunter, because the series is so great. From the characters to the plot and fights, everything you would want in an amazing shonen is right here in this anime. Sadly, this series is in hiatus at the moment, which takes away some further great potential this anime could add on, but Togashi had already written amazing arcs that could make up for the hiatus that it's currently going through. It also has one of my favorite characters of all of anime being Hisoka, while it also has one of my favorite antagonists as well, being Miriam. Sadly, Miriam got moved down from first place to second place in my top 5 antagonist list, since someone even more greater had taken the spot. The character is someone from a manga that is in the 3rd spot of this list, which I'm about to go through right now. So in the 3rd spot of this list is Berserk. This manga is phenomenal and it deserves all the praise that it has at the moment. I was a bit hesitant diving into this manga as the themes had seemed more different than what I was used to reading and watching, but I took the risk and read all the current chapters Berserk has, and I now see why it's a very top tier manga. First off, it has one of the most greatest main characters of all time, and not just being in manga in general. Guts' character really felt so realistic as he is just a human who is battling these supernatural entities with just his trusty sword in his hands. He eventually gets the berserker armor though, but even before that he had battled a great amount of demons just by himself with no powers or anything like that. He even cut off his own arm just to attack a living god, but sadly he couldn't even beat him or even touch him. Anyway, that living god, or I'd say demon, is my favorite antagonist of all of manga in general. Griffith's character is hated throughout the anime and manga community, which is completely normal as we saw him do something that affected everyone that was close to him in a very bad way just to get his own gains. We all thought he was a beacon of hope, but sadly that didn't seem, as it turned out he was capable of making that decision he had done. Overall, Berserk had some of the best characters, fights, moments, and themes in all of manga, which I will never reject saying at this point of time. Now, in my number 2 spot of this list is Attack on Titan. So Attack on Titan is really good. The themes that are portrayed in it that is focused on freedom are solid from what I've watched and read up to the current chapter that is going on. I also can't wait for season 4 to come out of the anime as I've read the manga already. I just can't wait to see some of my favorite chapters animated with the super great soundtracks. Now, Attack on Titan's plot is really highly praised, and as I watched it I found that out. Its amazing plot twists and moments can also be very big highlights of the entire series. The Armored and Colossal Titan reveal, the basement reveal. I wouldn't say the female Titan was much of a big twist, since at the start of the episode it was pretty obvious Annie was the Titan. I could also see the Armored Titan being obvious for Reiner, but Bertholdt's Colossal Titan was a real shocker. The characters are also all amazing, with it having my favorite protagonists being Eren and other amazing characters such as Erwin, Reiner, and Zeke. Also, one thing I have to say is that Levi is pretty overrated, but he had a nice story and I can understand the hype around his character, but many people overrate him so much. The same thing goes for Mikasa. I can't wait to see the ending of this great series, but I also don't want it to end, which annoys me as it's coming to its ending really soon. Now, at my number 1 spot, some of you guys may have guessed it already if you've stayed around on the channel for some time and seen some comments, but my favorite anime and manga series is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Yes, it's my most enjoyed series that I've ever watched and read. I really just love JoJo's, from the art, characters, amazing fights, and villains. It just makes me enjoy it so much. Even though I've read and watched so many great things such as Berserk, Hunter x Hunter, Attack on Titan, I just have a certain bias for JoJo's that keeps it in my number 1 spot. I love the idea of how it puts into different parts to sum up the whole story in different and bizarre ways. Yep, you saw what I did there, but anyway, the way Araki writes the different parts in an amazing way just makes it more entertaining as you see different stories from each JoJo's from the same entire story. I also don't like part skipping, and if you're a part skipper, click off this video right now. You're not worthy to hear about me praising JoJo's. But overall, parts 4, 5, 7, and 8 were definitely my favorite parts up to date, while the others were also enjoyable as well. I love every part in a certain way, I just have some other liked ones above them. The best JoJo is always gonna be Johnny Joestar, and the best character overall in the whole of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is always gonna be Gyro Zeppeli. So hopefully I didn't upset too many people about the way I made this list. Like I said, this is all my opinion, and if you have a problem with it, I generally don't care, since everyone has their own opinions and like other things more than one other thing, which is completely okay. So like always, subscribe if you're new, hit the like button and turn on bell notifications. It's been the Blue Fang, peace.